So let's welcome Prabhu by loudly chanting Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand how through the chaos of the world your plan is always working for our ultimate good. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming today. So, I'll do a quick recap of what we have been discussing. Our topic has been the Gita wisdom for hard times. So, something is So we are talking about Gita wisdom, and the way we are discussing it is that why do hard times come, or what kind of hard times come, and how do we deal with them. So we talked about 3 kinds of problems. IAS, those which are inevitable, those inevitable with karma. Understanding karma, it helps us become peaceful with our past, with situations that are unchangeable. Then there are avoidable problems. And if you understand dharma, then that makes us purposeful. So we learn how do I deal with this. So I talked here about being peaceful is through tolerance. The acronym I had used was TAP. A was we avoid those problems by seeking some higher purpose in our lives. And today I'll discuss the strengthening problems. Now, strengthening problems we deal with through bhakti. And bhakti, not only peaceful, purposeful, but bhakti makes us empowered or powerful. So, peaceful about our past, purposeful about our future, and powerful by knowing that God is with us and we are with God. That's what we'll discuss about bhakti today. Now, the key diagram which we'll build on was yesterday's diagram about our present karma and past karma. Our present karma can be either positive or negative, and our past karma can be either positive or negative. So, building upon the theme that if our past karma is negative, then we will be facing problems that will largely seem to be unavoidable. The past karma is negative, problems will come in our life which are inevitable. Now, this is not inevitable problems. These are avoidable problems. Actually, last time I had made this diagram with the past karma here and present karma there. So there's one Prabhupada disciple who attending the class. He said that start with the present, not with the past. So I was a little confused about that. So if our present karma, if our past karma is negative, we will have problems that are inevitable. So now, if our present karma becomes negative, then we have problems that are avoidable. So ideally speaking, we would like to go into quadrant. If you consider quadrants 1, 2, 3 and 4, we would like to go into 4. So 4 is the best. Which is the second best? The second best is 1, yes. So if we cannot get into the first quadrant, we would like to get into at least the second quadrant. So that will be the theme that we'll be discussing today. That how can we, so going through life in a way that the situations that we face will strengthen us. So we'll talk about strengthening, but broadly in terms of this diagram, what we are discussing is, yesterday I discussed about how when there are inevitable problems, our reaction to those inevitable problems can take us into avoidable problems. So avoidable problems are, we may look for pleasure, that is raga, or we may look for revenge. We may look for a villain, and then we look for revenge, and that will lead to dvesha. So we discussed about how Duryodhan went in the direction of dvesha, and he thought that it is the Pandavas that are ruining my life. But when we are going through inevitable problems, we can choose to go in the direction of strengthening ourselves. Now, strengthening ourselves can be at 2 levels. We can strengthen ourselves at the material level. That's what I'll talk as artha. And we can talk about strengthening ourselves at the spiritual level, which is the paramartha. And we'll talk about how bhakti helps us to strengthen ourselves. So to either change the situation or to get greater inner spirit and substance by which we can face the situation. So now strengthening, when we go through problems that will strengthen us, before we go through that, there is a conceptual change that we need to go through. So what I talked today will be in 3 broad parts. I'll use the acronym ACT. A-C-T. So A is appreciate. So appreciate what? See, the Gita gives us a very special conception of God. See, normally appreciate the Gita's conception of God, that God, often we think of God as the protector. And yes, Krishna is the protector. But the Gita is revealing the vision of God not so much as a protector, but as an empowerer. Krishna is not telling Arjuna that you do nothing, I will protect you. Krishna is telling Arjuna, I want you to do great things and I will empower you to do great things. One of the differences between the Ramayana and the Mahabharata is that in the Ramayana, Lord Ram is the central hero. Of course, there are other characters also who are heroic, and in some ways we can say Hanuman becomes the show stealer. The entire show stealer is like some character comes in for a short cameo, and that short character is so memorable in the movie that everybody will forget the hero and remember that character only. So sometimes if a celebrity comes for a small cameo, then that becomes like the star. So Hanuman's role in the Ramayana, the most loud section is the Sundarkand, and Lord Ram is practically absent over there. So the theme is there in the Ramayana also, but overall in the Ramayana, Lord Ram is the hero. Now, in the Mahabharata, yes, in Krishna Lila, in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is the hero. But in the Mahabharata, Krishna is not the hero. Krishna is the is the empowerer of the hero. So the Gita's message is not that God is the hero and you watch the heroics of God. The Gita's message is God is the supreme hero, join his team and you will also become a hero. That join God's team and you will also become a hero. Krishna wants to empower us. It is not that the mood of the Gita overall is not that Krishna will perform miracles and he will solve all your problems. That is not the primary mood of the Gita. So when we talk about appreciate, that God is the protector. God is the protector, but much more than that, he is the empowerer. It is, what this means is, in Bhakti, there are broadly, you could say there is Bhakti that is mystical. And there is Bhakti that is rational. So mystical Bhakti refers to supernatural experiences, divine interventions, miracles. Now these are often talked about in the Bhakti tradition as extraordinary stories about how, say, when Draupadi was threatened, was about to be dishonored, Krishna came and appeared as the endless robe and protected her. Now that's extraordinary, that's wonderful. At the same time, that does not make the Pandavas think that, okay, Krishna came to protect, Krishna will always protect us, we don't have to do anything. No, the Pandavas took responsibility. The Pandavas also played their part. So the mystical part is more about it's Krishna's miracles. Some extraordinary things happening. But the rational part is about Krishna's empowerment. That when Krishna empowers, that means that the devotee at one level takes logical, natural steps. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's life, there was at one level nothing mystical about the actions that Prabhupada did. The end result was extraordinary. The way outreach happened all over the world. But if you look at Prabhupada's daily life, it was not that Krishna was coming in his dream and Krishna was doing something miraculous in the sense of disrupting or you could say overriding the normal way the world functions, the normal laws of nature. So the vision of the Gita is forced on this rational spirituality is that, so God is the empowerer means, here if God is the protector, that means he is the hero and we are the saved. But here what it means is we become the heroes. We become the heroes in the service of God and then we save others, we help others. So this is a very different vision of Bhakti and especially of how God acts in our life. So earlier we talked about how in our life there are some problems that are inevitable, and because those problems are inevitable, we have to deal with them. And we understand they are coming because of a past karma, and we just have to grit our teeth and make sure that our present karma doesn't become worse. And while all that is true, but one of the things that the Gita also explains is that it is not that, this is often a common conception that, say, this is the material world and this is the spiritual world. And now Krishna exists at the apex of the spiritual world. So Krishna is the acme, the zenith of existence. And the idea is that it is we have to fight our way to go from here to the spiritual world. Now, while there is some validity to this understanding, but this is not the understanding of the Gita. In two ways, it is questionable. Why? Because Krishna doesn't just exist there. Actually, Krishna pervades the entire existence. Yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam. Krishna doesn't just exist in the spiritual world. Krishna exists in the material world. In fact, Krishna doesn't just exist in the material world. The material world exists in Krishna. So God is not somewhere far away. And what does this mean? That actually the Gita's understanding is that God exists in us and we exist in God. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. That sarvabhutasthamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshana. In 6.29 and 6.30, Krishna talks about this, that Krishna is with us, within us. And even while we are in the material world, the whole material world exists within Krishna. All of material existence is in the Brahma Jyoti, which is the energy of Krishna. So God is not somewhere far away. God is here with us. Just as Krishna was with Arjuna on his chariot. Our body is like a chariot, and Krishna is with us in the chariot of the body as the Paramatma. So God is not far away that we have to struggle and fight our way through this world to get to God. And when we reach there, He'll be happy. But till then, we have to struggle and fight our way. It's not like that. And the second thing is that Krishna doesn't just want us to leave the world and come to Him. Krishna wants us to come through the world to Him. That means Krishna wants us to function in this world. Krishna wants us to actually be agents for transforming the world. That sometimes this world is at Dukhalaya. And that's true. But if this world is Dukhalaya, Krishna does not dismiss this world. Krishna still comes to this world whenever things become unbearable. When dharmasya glani happens, then Krishna comes, He descends. I think there's an echo happening over here. Can you mute? Somebody is speaking and that's getting... Is my audio going from here to them? Can we mute everyone else, whoever is there? Okay. So, Krishna wants us to go through this world, and Krishna wants us to contribute in this world. So, if we understand this part, now what does this mean? So, all this I'm talking about, appreciate the conception of God. Krishna is the empowerer, not just the protector. Empowerer means Krishna cares not just that we come back to Him, Krishna cares about what we do in this world to make a positive change here also. And that means that our vision of our life needs to expand. See, quite often, when we go through life, we just don't have events happening to us. We actually, at least our mind tells us stories about what is happening. So, if something bad happens to us, then okay, this is terrible. But 2-3 things bad happen to us. Then we say, maybe my life is jinxed. Maybe things will never work out for me. But that's a story that is formed. So, now quite often, this story that we form for our life, if there is no God in the picture, the story just becomes about 2 things. What is done to us and what is done by us. Now, often what is done to us, we feel it is unfair. People don't value us enough, people don't give us enough credit, people treat us badly. So what is done to us is unfair, and often about what is done by us, we feel insecure. Maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not talented enough, maybe I'll make a mess of things, even if I get some good opportunities. And this set of story, it fills us with a lot of negative emotions. So this is the story which is a godless story. So there is no God in the story. Can you just slightly decrease the AC? Now, in contrasted with that, so what is done to us, we could say broadly, it's a result of past karma. What is done by us is our present karma. So we feel past karma is, I don't know what karma baggage I have and how much I'm going to suffer because of that. And I don't seem to have control over myself also. I also make mess of things. So in that way, so this is past karma. What is done to us. And what is done by us, there is constantly a feeling of self-doubt that gnaws at us. Maybe what I'm doing is not right. Maybe the decisions I made are wrong. Maybe the choices I'm pursuing, maybe I'm not good enough for this. So people nowadays may have what they call the imposter syndrome, that I'm not really good enough. I'm playing some role, but I'll be exposed any day. So basically, this is the God-less story, and it leads to a lot of negativity. Now, when we start practicing bhakti, what happens or what should happen when God becomes a part of our life is that, yes, we are in this world, and there are things that happen to us, and the things are done to us, and things are done by us. But above us is Krishna, and Krishna is not just above us. Everything that is happening is within Krishna. So what this means is that if we understand this particular vision, that Krishna is not just up there, Krishna is everywhere, then what is done to us and what is done by us, it is all within God's plan. It is within God's plan. Tasyanu vihito rajan. Now that does not mean that when bad people do bad things to us, that God wants us to do that. No, that's not exactly what it is. It is within God's plan. I'll explain what this means. Another way to understand it, it is God filtered. When we have filtering of water, if the water is pure, it will go through naturally. But if the water is impure, then a certain degree of impurity will be removed. All the impurity may not be removed because it depends on how much filtering we are doing. But a certain level of impurity will be removed. So like that, when we say everything that happens in our life is God filtered, that means what happens to us can be God's intention. Krishna wanted it to happen to us. But at the very least, now, say we make some terrible mistake, or somebody manipulates and misleads and exploits us. Now that, it's not God's intention that people do bad things. But if that has happened, that is not without God's permission. So, upadrashta anumantacha. So that's why yesterday I said that a devotee should not just be karma conscious, we should also be Krishna conscious. Yes, my karma is coming to me in this way and that is happening in that way. But all this is happening under Krishna. So Krishna knows what is happening to us. Krishna knows our pain. Krishna feels our pain. And Krishna wants to heal our pain. So, everything that is happening to us is God filtered. That nothing is happening. Now, when I say God filtered, does not mean it is God intended. It is not that Krishna is causing pain to us, but it is Krishna who, through whatever happens, can bring us closer to Him. So, this conception may seem a little complicated, but let me illustrate this point now. That, say, consider the well-known incident in the Mahabharata where Duryodhan decided, he was such a person that although he was in the kingdom in prosperity, he still wanted to increase the misery of the Pandavas. And thus when Drupada came to him, he said, "Oh sage, you have given me the opportunity to serve you and be blessed by such service. I desire that such good fortune also come to my cousins, the Pandavas. Can you go and visit them also? Now, Drupada said, yes, I can do that. So I have one request. The Pandavas are living in the forest. In the morning, they will all be very busy. So, just so that they can serve you nicely, please go to them in the afternoon, so that they will be able to serve you peacefully. Now, here, he was acting like he was out and concerned for the Pandavas, but he had only malice for the Pandavas. And then, so it's here you see that Durvasa is a great sage and Duryodhana is a cunning politician. So even sages can get manipulated by people in this world. So, people in this world can be cunning. They can be deceptive, and sometimes those who are sages or saintly people, they can be more trusting, and that can backfire. So now here, we could say this whole sequence of events originated through Duryodhana's malice, Duryodhana's ill feeling. Now when the Pandavas received Durvasa, they started panicking. Oh, sage has come, we have to provide food, but the Akshaya Patra does not provide any food after Draupadi has eaten. Now, all that is a part of mystical aspect of spirituality, and I'm not going to focus on that right now. But what happens is, sometimes when so Draupadi immediately prayed to Krishna, Krishna, please help. And Krishna came over there. Now, sometimes the way life works, we have a problem and we pray to Krishna, and instead of the problem going away, the problem seems to become double. So what happens is, Krishna comes in response to Draupadi's prayer, and Krishna says, I am very hungry. Please give me some food. Now, Draupadi is utterly crushed. She said, first I had no food for the sage. That is actually basically Brahminical culture. But you are my Lord. And if I cannot give food to you, it's an even bigger trouble for me, bigger agony for me. So she was totally crushed. What is happening? And then Krishna said, just see if there's some food. And now when she went and checked, this was the Akshaya Patra, on which she found there was a little bit shark. Now the mystical part of the story comes later, that Krishna ate that little shark and all the sages felt satisfied. But I am not focusing on that part right now. The part I am focusing on is that this plate, it is a very special plate. Normally, this was the plate through which the Pandavas were serving all the sages. If somebody is a soldier and they have only one gun and they are in enemy territory, they'll keep their gun very clean. If we have some golden plates or silver plates, we'll clean them very carefully. So, how is it that whoever cleaned this plate did not clean it properly? That the shark was remaining. So, now there were some maid servants of Draupadi, they were so faithful to her, they said that even if you can't pay us anything, we are not going to leave you, we are going to come with you to the forest. So they were the people who were there with her in the forest also. So maybe it was their job to clean and they didn't clean it properly. But the point is that Krishna's plan actually worked through both malice and mistake. That the malice of Duryodhana. And we could say Draupadi. Now ultimately you can say that Draupadi's maid's mistake. You could say it's Draupadi's mistakes. Why? Because it's ultimately her duty to serve, her duty to take care of the vessels. She has to oversee whether others are doing it properly or not. So Krishna's plan can work in many different ways. Now that does not mean we commit mistakes and say this is Krishna's plan. It is not that we are supposed to make sweet rice and we put salt instead of sugar and we say, oh, this is Krishna's plan. This is Krishna's plan to teach you detachment from sweets. We can justify anything. That's not what we are meant to do. But The point is that Krishna's plan can work in many different ways. So, with this understanding, we'll come back to Krishna's plan a little later again. But this is, we appreciate the concept. God is not just up there waiting, God is here with us, working with us and working for us. So, this understanding of God, if you forget everything from this class, what happened? Let's look at the purpose. What happened to us? Many bad things may have happened to us, maybe in the recent past, in the distant past. What happens to us? Our connection with Krishna, our understanding that Krishna has a plan. Now that helps us in due course to have this faith. Faith to eventually see. Not immediately, but faith to eventually see. What do we see? That what happened to us actually happened for us. For us means it was for our good. It is, God is not against us doing terrible things to us or letting terrible things happen to us. That what happened to us actually happened for us. Now maybe after this class, you can yourself introspect in your life about how something terrible that happened at a particular time in your life. Now if you look at it from the distance 5, 10 years, it was terrible, but from that terrible thing, something good came out. Maybe a direction, life moved in a different direction. So what happened to us happened for us. I'll come back to this theme once again. But this is the first point, that Krishna is the empowerer for us. So when we say there is suffering that is strengthening, that means it is not just we who are trying to strengthen ourselves. It is Krishna who wants to strengthen us through the problems that we are facing in our life. So this is the first point about appreciate. Now, what is second point? What is the acronym? ACT. So C is cultivate. So appreciate that Krishna is with us. Appreciate that Krishna is for us. Now, after that, cultivate our strengths. Whatever gifts we have, it is our responsibility to cultivate them. If we look at Arjuna, he was a great archer. And he did not become a great archer by simply being lazy. He worked hard. Arjuna has a name Gudakesha. What does Gudakesha mean? Yes, one who has conquered sleep. Now this has two meanings. One based on artha and the other based on paramartha. So based on artha is, while pursuing archery, he would learn from his guru, whatever he learned in school, he would practice late into the night, tirelessly. And in that way, he conquered sleep. So this was his archery. And the paramartha is, because of his bhakti, he conquered tamas. And thus he was known as. So the idea was that Arjuna is somebody who worked on his archery. It is not that he was passive. When he was in the forest, at that time, Vyasadeva came to Pandavas. Vyasadeva would repeatedly come and meet them in the forest. So he came at one time, he told Arjuna, a great war is going to happen. And you need to prepare for that war. And the way you prepare is by gaining greater weapons, by performing austerities. So he went to the Himalayas, he performed great tapasya, and he got an array of phenomenal weapons. And those weapons played a huge role in his becoming such a formidable warrior. Now if we contrast Arjuna with Karna. Now see, mystical spirituality would mean that Arjuna is a devotee, Karna is not a devotee, therefore Krishna will ensure that Arjuna wins and Karna loses. That's true. But a devotee does not demand that Krishna intervene to help him win. Him or her win. A devotee, let me serve Krishna. Let me do the best I can in whatever situation I am in. So, if we consider, both of them learned from gurus. But Karna, in today's language, was not a part of any ongoing continuous learning program. He did not perform any austerities. The only extra astra that he got after his time in the Gurukul was the Shakti astra that he got in a swap from Indra. Now some people say he gave charity of his own kavach and kundal. That is true at one level. But another level, is it really charity? Because he already had a plan. If I give something like this, Indra will ask me for something. So the kavach guaranteed him protection. But the kavach did not guarantee him victory. It did not provide him a chance to win against Arjuna. And for him, surviving was not as important as winning. So basically, he got a swap by which he got the astra. But he did not do any extra special tapasya to get any special weapons. So Arjuna did that. So it is our responsibility to look at our situation and see what strengths we have and how we can develop those strengths. In the first session, I talked about how in the material world, it is Prakriti means might is right. And might is always important. Sanskriti is might plus virtue. So, for us to develop our strengths is important. And now, when we focus on developing our strengths, it is that we don't see it as something independent of Krishna. It is Krishna who has given us certain gifts. And it is Krishna who wants us to develop those gifts. So, the Gita tells, Paurusham Drushu. Paurusham is in human beings. Paurusham is ability. Drushu is in human beings. Krishna says that I am ability in people. So it may be linguistic ability, it may be mathematical ability, it may be managerial ability, it may be singing ability, it may be artistic ability. See, those abilities are gifts given to us by Krishna. And He wants us to develop those gifts. He wants us to become the best we can. So broadly speaking, if we look at the overall teaching of the Gita, that Gita talks about growth in two ways. So one is self-realization. Now there are two very different metaphors for this. Self-realization means that we are souls and we have to realize that we are souls. So self-realization is like a hidden treasure. It's already there, but it's deep down. What we need to do is just dig deep enough and we'll get to the treasure. So self-realization is like a hidden treasure. That ultimately we are souls, the soul has the potential to love Krishna, and this is about spiritual development. But the other aspect is self-actualization. Now the word actualize means what? To make what is potential actual. So to make what is potential actual. What this means is that this is like a fertile seed. So our body is like a kshetra. The kshetra is like a field. So our body is like a field. And now in a field, we can go two ways. We can sow some seeds, and through that, we can grow a mango tree, we can grow a valuable orchard. We can get a rich harvest through that. But if we have the field, we can dig into the field and we can get to a buried treasure. So we need to do both. So self-realization is our spiritual growth. That is like developing the inner treasure that we have. And self-actualization is our outer growth. The gifts that we have by which we navigate the journey in this world. So self-realization and self-actualization. And our self-actualization is also our service to Krishna. So if we have children, observing what talents the children have and helping them develop those talents is also our service, not just to children, but also to Krishna. And that's why, if we consider parenting, that we all may operate with different metaphors. So sometimes the metaphor is that children are like clay. Now the idea of a clay is what? That a potter can shape the clay whichever way we want. However, that is not the teaching of the Gita. Because the children are also souls who have had previous lives. And that means they have certain samskaras from the past, positive and negative. So children are not like clay, they are more like seeds. So with the clay, the primary thing is the potter can give whatever shape they want. But with the seed, the gardener has to understand what kind of seed this is. And then based on that, the appropriate watering has to be done. The appropriate cultivation has to be done. So that's why when we say these are Krishna's children, not my children. What that means is that we cannot expect those children to become our Xerox copies. Or it's not that the children are meant to fulfill our dreams. They are seeds, they are individuals, and they will grow in their way. Of course, it's that with every seed, weeds can come, and the weeds have to be cut off. This doesn't mean simply letting the children do whatever they want. But the point is, gardening is important work. It's difficult work. But gardening is very different from pottery. So that's a side point. But my point is that we are in our service to Krishna. It is not that giving up material desires does not mean giving up material abilities. Giving up material desires does not mean devaluing material abilities. It is for us that as devotees, this is a very important point, that see, our abilities are gifts from Krishna. Now our abilities can be used for gratification. I become a great singer and I gain fame and popularity and I think I am great. That is not what we want. But we want to use our abilities for making a contribution. And developing our abilities is in that sense important as a service to Krishna. So this is, each one of us can develop our strengths accordingly. And when we develop those strengths, we can use those strengths to deal with the difficult situations. So this is strengthening. So why is this strengthening? Because developing any skill is not easy. It requires effort. Like Arjuna, he put in effort. It was not overnight. One day he was born and next day he was a great archer. It requires effort. So another way to understand this journey with abilities is that what we have from birth may be talents. But from talents, for them to become skills, it is we need to work. It is not, talent is basically like a raw talent. Skill is where the person has used that talent and developed it in a way they can use it. So if somebody wants to sing for Krishna, they may have a wonderful voice, but they may need to train it. They may need to develop it so that they can do better and better service to Krishna. Somebody wants to speak for Krishna. Then, I'm talking more from a devotional perspective, but if they want to speak for Krishna, then they may have intellectual ability, but they have to learn the subject. They have to learn how to communicate effectively. So that is something we all need to develop ourselves. So then, this is the way, it's rather than thinking of this as material. See, the way to separate material and spiritual is in two ways. One is to think that that which is connected to the material world is material and leave it. The other is what is used for the service of Krishna is no longer material. So in that sense, rather than calling it as material, we see it as potentially spiritual. So this is artha. Artha is value. Anything of value that we have, our abilities are of value. And we are meant to develop those. So this is the second. But a devotee does this in a mood of service to Krishna. Krishna, you have given me these gifts, and as a service to you, I will develop these gifts. Now one big advantage that happens when we have this vision is that we understand that Krishna has given me some gifts, Krishna has given others some gifts. We don't have to compare with others, because we all have a part in Krishna's plan. Everyone has a part. So Bhima's part was not the same as Arjuna's part. If we look at the Pandavas, it's so, first of all, you'll see that Arjuna could have been insecure. And I am not physically as strong as Bhima. Now Bhima could have been insecure that I am not as good as archery as Arjuna. Now Yudhishthira could have been doubly insecure that I am supposed to be the king, and the king traditionally was expected to be the best warrior. In the past, the kings would lead from the front. But Yudhishthira was not only not the best warrior, he had two younger brothers who were better warriors than him. He could have been insecure. But he understood that, they all understood that they all have their roles to play. So here in developing our bhakti, the role that our bhakti plays is, see, normally when we try to look at our abilities, we always look through the world's eyes, what we can call a social mirror. Social mirror is that, do people value this? Will people appreciate this? Is my ability, when we are very much concerned with society, we are not concerned with what ability I have. We are concerned about, is my ability better than others' ability? And is my ability more valued than others' ability? But this is not a healthy way. This is again a godless way. What we understand is that actually we look at ourselves not through the world's eyes, but through God's eyes, through a devotional mirror. That what is the ability I have? How can I develop it in my way to serve Krishna? So in this way, developing this ability is a way we strengthen ourselves. That brings me to the last part. What is the acronym we were discussing? ACT. So now, A was, we appreciate that Krishna is with us. Krishna is our empowerer, not just a provider. Then cultivate the gifts that Krishna has given us. Now T is transcend. Now transcend, I already pointed to that to some extent. What does transcend mean over here? That a devotee, for a devotee, when we are acting in the world, now whatever we are doing in the world. So we would like it to have an impact in the world, to be recognized by the world. So if we are in a job, we are in a family, even if we are doing some seva here, we are trying to book some festival, we are trying to give some classes, whatever it is. We want it to be recognized in the world. But for us, we are ultimately not doing it for the world, we are doing it for Krishna. So, yes, we are doing it through the world for Krishna. But Krishna needs to become the bigger reality for us. When I talked about the social mirror not being that important, how does that happen? For a devotee, Krishna becomes the bigger reality than this world. And what does this mean? If we consider when we are practicing bhakti, last time I had come, I think I had explained this elaborately. See, initially for us, the world is very big and God is small. Even if He exists, we don't really care much for God. When I was introduced to bhakti about 30 years ago, I started sharing about it with everyone, all my friends, relatives, acquaintances. So one of my uncles, he told me, I have a very good relationship with God. I said, really? I'd never seen him talk anything about God, never read any spiritual books, not even go much to a temple or anything like that. So I said, what is this good relationship? He said, mutual non-interference. So he's happy there, I'm happy here. Now the problem is that we won't be happy here forever. Life has its ups and downs. But as we grow spiritually, as we practice bhakti, and there is a spiritual growth, there is moving towards self-realization. What happens by this is, the world becomes smaller and Krishna becomes bigger for us. See, when the world is bigger, that means what I do, how much the world is recognizing it, that becomes very important for us. But here what happens is, we are, yes, going through the world, but it is for Krishna's purpose. It is for Krishna's pleasure. When that happens, then a devotee is not shaken too much by the world's ups and downs. He understands that, yes, what I am doing it for Krishna. And even if my good actions lead to some trouble for me, no, Krishna will take care of it. So, what is happening to me? See, if the world is very big, what happens is, we only see the reality of the world. What is happening to me? This is terrible. How could this person do like this to me? Why did this have to happen to me? This is horrible. So, what is happening to me? Our vision is reduced only to me and the world. But when Krishna becomes bigger for us, what is happening to me is happening for me. Let's look at the story of Arjuna. When Arjuna was in Swarga. Now, see, life is such a roller coaster. Arjuna went to perform austerities. When he went to perform austerities, he actually went, it was a difficulty within a difficulty. Living in the forest itself was very difficult. They were all royalty. But within a forest, at least they had their family together. Now, Arjuna had to go alone without his family. And then it was extremely difficult. He performed prolonged austerities and he got various blessings from the various devatas. But when he was trying to please Indra to get a astra from him, nothing would happen. And he's just performing on and on austerities. And finally, what happened? He was taken to heaven. Not only he said, I'll give you astras, but I will take you to heaven. In the self-same body, he went to heaven and he stayed in heaven for some time. And normally, we would say going to heaven is supposed to be very enjoyable. But he went to heaven and something hellish happened to him. It's like hell can happen to someone in heaven. The example of that is Arjuna. What happened? When he was there, now Urvashi, this celestial damsel, Apsara, she became attracted to him. Or you could put another way, she saw that he was repeatedly glancing at her and she thought that he is attracted to her. So she came to him at one night. And normally the way it works, human society is such that the man takes the step forward. And the woman may sometimes say yes or no or whatever. But if a woman is taking the step forward, she's putting herself in a very vulnerable position. So now she was an extraordinarily beautiful Apsara. Everybody would want to be with her. And when she came and offered herself to Arjuna, Arjuna said that, I was only beholding you because I remembered how my ancestor, Pururava, was attracted to you. And I was remembering that story and marveling that I am seeing a character from that story here. He says, for you, because you were the wife of my ancestor, you are like a mother figure for me. Now, if a woman is coming with desire to be told that you are like a mother, it's like pouring cold water on that. She was enraged. She tried to reason with him first. He said, actually, for us in heaven, these rules won't apply. He says, yeah, it may not apply to you, but I am only visiting heaven. I am not I'm not a resident of heaven. I cannot live according to those rules. She became enraged. And she said, what kind of impotent person are you? That you are refusing a woman who is coming to you with desire. I curse you to become impotent. And now, you could say, earlier I said, sometimes we do a good thing and bad things happen to us. Here, he resisted a temptation, and instead of being rewarded, he was punished for that. It's like for a Kshatriya, for any man, but for a Kshatriya, it's like a worst nightmare. But he immediately went to Indra and told Indra what had happened. And Indra said, calm down, this will all work out for your good. So then what happened was, that curse, he said that, I will arrange for this curse to act on you at a time of your choice. And when did that curse act on him? During the Agyatwas. Among the Pandavas, Yudhishthir was the king, but Arjuna was the most famous. And for Arjuna to hide was actually going to be the most difficult. So for Arjuna to become Brihanalla, so what was happening to him, what had happened to him, actually happened for him. But at that particular time, it would have been practically inconceivable how something like this would actually be good for me. How is it something which is going to help me? That is very difficult. But Arjuna had that faith that for him, just the immediate events, they are not the full picture. So when Krishna becomes bigger for us, when we are in this situation of Krishna becoming bigger for us, what does it mean? Basically, that we have a finite vision of things. And that means we only see so far. Our finite vision is not the final vision. Our finite vision is not the final vision. What is happening to us, it may seem terrible right now, and it may be terrible. But through it, Krishna can bring out not just good things, but far more good things than what we might have thought are possible. Now, this is not meant to simplistically deny that bad things do happen. But it is that those bad things are not our final fate. And that's why when we are practicing bhakti and when we are empowered, the empowerment is not just in terms of our material skills and strengths. That's important. But even with the greatest material skills and strengths, still life will be difficult. And when we have a spiritual vision, Krishna empowers us not just to become strong enough to change the situations we are in, but it also empowers us to change our consciousness so that we can wait through the situations till his plan works out for us. And I'll conclude with one last point, that when we are functioning in the world, going back to a 4-quadrant diagram, see, when we have bhakti, our mood is, I want to serve the Lord. So we could say we want to offer in bhakti, we want to make an offering to Krishna. So we may want to offer the world to Krishna. Offer the world means I want to have a big house where I can have a wonderful altar and I can have great programs, or I want to do this, I want to do that. We may want to do it for Krishna. We want to offer the world to Krishna. And that's wonderful if we can offer the world to Krishna. So we want to offer the world, or we succeed in offering the world. We can offer, or we can't offer. Now, this is important, but what is more important for Krishna is our heart. Krishna wants us to offer the world, but Krishna wants us ultimately to offer our heart. So we can offer, or we can't offer. Now, what does this mean, can't offer or can offer? See, sometimes we are trying so hard to do something. We're working very hard to do a particular service, or to make a particular thing happen, and we want to do it for Krishna. But this I have noticed all over the world when I travel, that there's so many devotees, they're very eager and energetic to do something for Krishna, but when that thing doesn't work out, or when they feel that others are not helping me, others are not assisting me, then the greater their eagerness to serve Krishna, the greater is their bitterness toward everyone who is not helping them in their service to Krishna. So what is happening, unfortunately, is in trying to offer the world to Krishna, they are making their heart unofferable to Krishna. A heart filled with bitterness, we should be able to see, okay, this person is not helping me, this is not happening, that is not happening. But that is not outside Krishna's plan. It is not that Krishna doesn't know what we are going through. Krishna knows what we are going through, and Krishna wants to see how we go through it. Dadami, Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. But before that he says, bhajatam priti purvakam, not bhajatam guna purvakam. No, what happens is, the best would be if we can offer the world and we can offer our heart to Krishna. But if, now we could say the worst is that we offer neither the world nor the heart, then we are just being materialistic. But if we can offer the world to Krishna, but we can't offer our heart, then if from here we go towards here, this is good. But from there, if we go here, that is bad. Now, of course, if we can offer our heart, but we can't offer the world, now this is also good. There are many stories in our scriptures of, say, how somebody offered something to the Lord which is not at all substantial from the material perspective, but still the Lord was pleased. What are the examples of that? Sudama offered. Now, Sudama, Shabari offered. Now, if you see, interestingly, there's a difference in this case. Just conclude with this point. Shabari and the Shabari in Ram Leela and the fruit vendor in Krishna Leela. If you see, Shabari offered something to the Lord, but it was not that the Lord gave her anything back in return. Of course, we can say that what he gave her back was that she became liberated. She went back to Krishna. She went back to Lord Ram. So, but there were no material returns. Now, with respect to the fruit vendor, what happened? There were material returns also. Now, the way Krishna works, sometimes what we offer may not be of material significance, but Krishna will be pleased. And a Krishna can make it of material significance also. But it depends on Krishna. Now, if we consider similarly, the example of Sudama, and we consider the example of the squirrel in Ram Leela. Now, Sudama, both of them offered something materially insignificant. In return, Sudama got a huge palace. The squirrel, there is no description of anything. He says, actually that is, Lord Ram is telling the Vanaras, I value her service also. So, just because our service is accepted by Krishna doesn't mean necessarily we will be materially recognized. Or just because we are materially recognized does not necessarily mean that our service is accepted by Krishna also. There are many combinations are there. But the point is for us, it is we would like to offer the world to Krishna. So offering the world to Krishna is developing our Shakti, like I discussed earlier. We want to develop our Shakti so that we can offer the best to Krishna in this world also. But if we cannot, as devotees, we are content in offering the world to Krishna. If we look at Srila Prabhupada's life, you can say from 1922 to 1966 or even 68, Srila Prabhupada was trying very hard, but practically nothing was working out. Even when he came to America, not many things were working out. So, but Prabhupada never became bitter. Prabhupada was always happy speaking about Krishna, singing about Krishna, cooking for Krishna. Even the world didn't recognize, Prabhupada was satisfied. But then, from 68 to 77, extraordinary things happened. where Prabhupada was able to offer the world to Krishna. Thousands and thousands of people became devotees, over 100 temples were established. He went on 14 world tours, and that was extraordinary. But then, the one project that Srila Prabhupada worked for the most was the Juhu project. Now, if you look at the Juhu project, does anyone know when Srila Prabhupada departed from the world? November 14, 1977. Does anyone know when the Juhu temple was inaugurated? It was Jan 14, 78, Makar Sankranti Day. So it was just 2 months. This was the temple for which Prabhupada had fought for years. And Prabhupada had promised the deities, promised Krishna that please you come and stay here, I will build a temple for you. Now Prabhupada could have said to Krishna, Krishna, please let me stay for just 2 more years. So just for a few more days, till the temple is inaugurated. But, Prabhupada, during his last days when he was asked, Swamiji, do you have any last desires? Prabhupada said, Kuch ichha nahi. Kuch ichha nahi. So Prabhupada would definitely have loved to have seen the temple being inaugurated. But for Prabhupada, Krishna's desire for Krishna was bigger than his desire for any project for Krishna. And because the project was not working out, or because he would not be there to see that project for Krishna, Prabhupada did not become distressed by that. He did not become bitter by that. In one sense, you could say, in 77 finally, Prabhupada, what he offered was his heart to Krishna. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada demonstrates this life of dynamic devotion. He offered the world to Krishna whenever he had the opportunity to, but ultimately it was offering the heart to Krishna. In this way, the Gita's wisdom can help each one of us to make the best out of difficult situations that we face in our life. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. Today was about strengthening problems. That those difficulties, how can we face the difficulties which are meant to strengthen us? So I talked about 3 points. A was appreciate. So appreciate that God is not just our protector. Appreciate the conception of God, that God is not just our protector, He is also our empowerer. Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight and be a glorious part of his mission. What is happening here? Yeah. So when we say Krishna is the empowerer, what it means is that Krishna is not just up here somewhere. Actually, the whole world is in Krishna. And what happens to us and what is done by us and what is done to us, it is all within Krishna's plan. It is God filtered. So we are not alone in this world struggling. It is Krishna who is with us, within us. And this understanding, this expands our vision of life. So Krishna wants us to play a part. So Krishna is the hero, but in his service, Krishna wants us also to become heroes in his service. That means we talked about Bhakti, has a mystical aspect to it, where Krishna as the hero does miraculous things. But Bhakti also has a rational aspect, where we learn to do our part in Krishna's service. So C was cultivate our gifts, our strengths. So we discussed how our ability is a gift from Krishna. So Arjuna is known as Gudakesh because he tirelessly worked to develop his ability of archery. So we talked about growth as 2 aspects. There is self-realization, which is like discovering or digging out a buried treasure. Self-realization, and it is also self-actualization. That is the gifts that Krishna has given us, we want to develop them. So this is like a fertile seed. So with these, rather than thinking of the ability as material, we see it as actually potentially spiritual because it can be used in Krishna's service. And when we have this vision, then what happens? We don't look at our abilities from the world's eyes, from the social mirror, and we think, oh, my ability is not good enough. We look at our ability from Krishna's eyes. Krishna has a part for me to play, and I will play my part without worrying too much whether my ability is better than someone else's or not, or my ability is better valued than someone else or not. And then T was transcend. Transcend means that even when we want to serve Krishna, for us it is in this world, for us it is important to remember that the service is for Krishna's pleasure. That means for us, the world needs to become smaller and Krishna becomes bigger for us. So we serve Krishna through the world, and if we can, well and good. But if we can't, then we are ready to serve Krishna directly. Or rather, we are ready to offer our heart to Krishna. So we discussed about offering the world and offering the heart. So we want to offer both. That is the best. But what is most important is that we offer our heart. So if we can offer our heart, that is also glorious. Now, if you're offering the world, that's good if that inspires us to offer us the heart. But if it doesn't inspire us to offer the heart, then that can be bad. Then we'll stay stuck in this world. So we discussed Srila Prabhupada's life and how Srila Prabhupada, from, we could say 22 to 66, almost 68 actually. He did not get much success in America also initially. Then 68 to 77 he was here. And then 77, again, he was ready to accept the challenges that he faced in life. So in this way, I talked about, to summarize, that when we face hard times, Gita's wisdom offers us these three broad insights. By understanding karma, we can become peaceful. That whatever is happening, it may be unfair, but it is all a part of my past karma. So we discuss how life may be unfair, but it is fairly unfair. It's not that it's always bad for us. By understanding dharma, we can become purposeful. That in this pain that I am in, how can I make things better? We discussed how Krishna guided Arjuna yesterday when Abhimanyu had departed. And with bhakti, we understand that we can become powerful. Powerful means both materially we develop our artha and spiritually we develop our paramartha. And in that way, whatever difficulties we are facing, the Gita wisdom can enable us to go through those difficulties and come to a better place. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru. Thanks for this wonderful seminar that you have done for us. So my question is intellectually we understand and relate to it, but and also the examples you give, like how Arjun, even though he was in difficult situations, but he could come out of those quickly and continue with his service. Same with like Srila Prabhupada, or pure devotees, but like a struggling sadhaka like me, if I can talk, like even though we understand, because when we are going through difficult times, we do have emotions and we may have struggles, we have a lot of limitations. Then how we can keep ourselves motivated to continue on this path or to achieve our purpose?
When I find out, I'll let you know. It's very easy to tell what to do, but when we go through difficulties, whether we will be able to do what we are telling others to do, that only time will tell. But broadly speaking, you know about this game called wall climbing? Like there are nails or grips on the wall, and then you hold it and pull yourself up. So in many ways, life is like wall climbing. Now, when we have to go up, it's difficult. But broadly speaking, if I change this vision, that, how do I put it? So if this is the wall, then if we are here, broadly, there are like 4 rows in front of us. What do I mean by 4 rows? When we have to push ourselves, like strengthening problems means climbing up will become stronger. We have to push ourselves. So there are broadly 4 ways we can push ourselves. So what are these 4 rows? One is the row of emotions. That means this is where sometimes we have inspiration. Sometimes we feel like doing something. We may hear some inspiring class, somebody may encourage us, something good happens in our life. And then we have our emotions work with us. Then, in fact, we could say this is the easiest way to move forward. But when emotions don't work with us, then we need to have our intelligence. That, yes, this is important for me. And there are many things in our life which we do even when our emotions are not with us. If we have a job, how many of us can say every day we look forward to going for our job? Isn't it? No, but we have a sense of intelligence. This is important for me. And so we do it. So we could say internally there are emotions and our intelligence is there. Now externally we have our responsibilities and we have our relationships. Now these two are related but they're slightly different. Relationship means, see, we are social creatures. And often if we have healthy relationships, or at least we have a sense of commitment in the relationship, then that inspires us to do the right thing even if we don't feel like doing it. Yeah, I have to do this. If a mother has a newborn baby, or parents have a newborn baby, then taking care of a newborn baby is more than a 24/7 job. So when a newborn baby suddenly starts crying at night, the mother may not feel an overflowing feeling of love for the baby at that time. But still, mother wakes up and takes care of the baby. So that's in the relationship. So for us, if we have a spiritual master, we have a spiritual guides, we have our elders whom we respect, or we have our mentors. So those relationships can inspire us. So just having that relationship can inspire us. Sometimes the words that they speak, the way they encourage us, that can inspire us. And then the fourth thing is responsibility. When we voluntarily choose to take up a responsibility, that's what I talk about dharma. Now you can say dharma is based on relationships, but it need not be. We voluntarily take up some responsibility. So if we have that ethos, that if I take up a responsibility, I'm going to stick to it. So in general, when we talk about meaning, now what is the meaning of all this? What is going on in my life? I can't make sense of what is happening. Why is this happening? So broadly, there are 2 ways of looking at meaning. Meaning is we make sense. We make sense of life. That means what is happening, we try to make sense of it. But the other is we make sense in life. What do I mean by that? Make sense of life means we are able to understand what is happening, why is it happening. But make sense in life, even if I can't understand, I will do the sensible thing in this situation. So if we can have this is the best. But if we can make sense of life, that is the best. But make sense in life is the second best. I'll give an example by what I mean by this. That suppose one of my friends is in California. He's a devotee. He's a firefighter. So some of you may know knew about in LA there was a devastating forest fire, not forest fire, there was city fire was there. Forest fire became a city fire basically. It was horrible. So anyway, so he told me that as a firefighter, whenever they are called to a venue where there's fire, the first thing they want to know is what caused the fire. Is it a natural cause, friction between trees? Is it some electrical thing gone wrong? Is it arson? Is it because of some explosives being there? Because knowing what is the cause of the fire can help them deal with it better. But sometimes there is just no clue what caused the fire. So now, even if they don't know what has caused the fire, what do they do at that time? They still have to fight the fire. Then they may decide, okay, the fire is here. There's a civilian area over there. So we got to ensure the fire doesn't spread in that direction. Sometimes we just have to make sense in life, even if we can't make sense of life. So samsara davan alidloka, life is like a forest fire. So sometimes we just can't know why this has happened. So that sense of responsibility, I was talking about responsibility. What happens is, we all would like our life to be meaningful. We would like our life to have some meaning in life. Now, in many ways, the meaning of life comes from two things. Our intelligence. What is this happening? Why is this person behaving like this with me? Suppose somebody is very hurtful behaving towards us. We may use our intelligence and try to figure out, talk with their friends, talk with others who know them. And we come to know, many years before, this person was betrayed by somebody, and that person was from the community that we belong to. And now that person is getting back at us. Now, it's still unfair, but at least we make sense of it. So it is with our intelligence we try to make sense of it. But sometimes we cannot make sense with intelligence. That is where a sense of responsibility comes in. The extent of meaning in our life is proportional to the responsibility that we take. That means artha. What the Shastra says is, I talk about taking responsibility is dharma. And what dharma produces is artha. So each one of us, in whatever situation we are in, we can try to do something of value. Now, how much value it will be, that we don't know. I gave that example of, say somebody is sick and they make everyone sick of them. Now that's unfortunate. Understandable, but still is unfortunate. It's undesirable. But in that situation, they may be sick and they may be in a terrible situation. But they can try to be grateful for whoever is helping them. They can try to be polite. And what happens by that is, they will be able to move forward. They will create some positivity in that space. So that's why ultimately responsibility means that in this situation, if I cannot find any sense of meaning, I will do something that is meaningful in the situation. So that's why karmanneva adhikaraste is very helpful. Why is this verse very helpful? Because sometimes we all, see, when we are taking responsibility for doing something, we are trying to create something meaningful. So Srila Prabhupada, it's not that he ever described that when he went to America, why he got a heart attack. Krishna never revealed anything to him like that. Or when he was trying to preach and this David Allen was about to become it seemed he would become a devotee. And then he took drugs, went high and attacked Prabhupada. So there's no reference that Krishna gave some mystical revelation to Prabhupada. This is the reason why this was happening. No, Prabhupada just moved on. So we can try to create meaning in whatever situation we are in. So when you say dharma leads to artha, what that means is that in whatever situation we are in, we try to move ahead. And now one more point I'll add over here. When we talk about dharma leading to artha, that means by doing our part responsibly, we can do something of value. So when I talk about karmanneva adhikaraste, see, we all would like to make a difference. But then our situation can seem so complicated, so overwhelming, that we may wonder whether I will even be able to make a difference. Whether what I am doing, is anyone valuing it also. So that's why karmanyevadikaryasya, what it means is, even if we can't make a difference, we can make a contribution toward making a difference. Whether when we talk about making a difference, that is in terms of the impact we have. That is not in our control. But we can definitely make a contribution toward making a difference. So if we are in that first quadrant, whatever contribution we are making will have a huge impact. If you are not in that quadrant of past and present karma being positive, our present karma being positive will make a difference, but the difference may not be immediately visible. Now, Srila Prabhupada was asked that, Bhaktivedanta Thakur preached in Bengal. Bhaktivedanta Thakur preached in India. You preached all over the world. So he said, therefore you are greater than all of them. Prabhupada became extremely grave. He said, never think like that. He said, it is by their mercy that I was able to achieve. Now they were not in the manifest form to see the fruits of their mission, but they lifelong did their service to Krishna. So we can always make a contribution that way. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mataji. Yeah, here.
Thank you very much for the class, Prabhuji. I have this question. How should a practicing devotee react when hard times come all of a sudden, like an accident, natural calamity, or you are at a gunpoint based on the situations that have happened recently? So those are also hard times, and they come all of a sudden. Of course, we are practicing devotees, but at that moment, we don't know whether we can remember Krishna, or how should we actually react?
Okay, when hard times come, don't be hard on yourself. See, we are devotees, but we are also human beings. So yesterday when I talked about the reaction of Arjuna, as Arjuna went through a series of human emotions, he was agonized, he was mortified, he was devastated by all that. So it is not that our spirituality is meant to erase our humanity. Just like at a physical level, we may be very determined, say, to come for Mangal Aarti early in the morning. But if it is freezing cold, will we feel cold? Of course we'll feel cold, isn't it? Why? Because that's just the body. Our determination may be there to come, and we may decide, okay, I'll wear warm clothes and I'll come there. That's possible, but sometimes it may be so cold we may not be able to come also. But the point is that our spiritual determination does not mean that we will not experience the material sensation. The physical sensation will be there. So what the Gita says is the soul, the body, and the mind. All three are distinct realities. And just as the body can get injured at times, similarly, the mind can get wounded. And when the mind gets wounded, that is also real. It is not just control your mind. That's a very, very simplistic and sometimes very distorted way of looking at things. You see, there is the mind. There are times when the mind needs to be controlled. But there is also times when the mind needs to be comforted. And these are very two different situations. So for example, somebody has gone to a gym and they have to lift heavy weights. I don't feel like lifting weights. So then somehow push yourself and lift the weight. You have to control ourselves to do that. But suppose somebody has got a fractured hand. And since they are lifting weight, they can't control yourself and lift the weight. No, at that time, no, you don't lift the weight, somebody else will lift the weight for you. And don't feel bad about it. So, in general, with respect to desires, when the desires are going wild, they need to be controlled. But with respect to emotions, when the emotions are becoming turbulent, we need to be comforted. And that's where the support of the community comes in. That the community should be there to help somebody who's going through hard times to be comforted. Guhyam akhyati pruchyati. That is, sharing our heart in confidence, hearing others share their heart in confidence. So that is, what is that? Because life is very difficult. And everybody can go through terrible, even traumatic times. So that will affect people. It will affect devotees also. So we don't have to be hard on ourselves. Yes, sometimes we may go through various emotions, and whatever we go through, we accept that. It is not that we are giving up our bhakti to Krishna, but it is going to affect us at that time. So ideally speaking, if we have cultivated close friends, we have good relationships, then they will be able to support us at that time. And that's where Vaishnava Seva comes in. That's where what we should be doing is, we should have an ethos of helping each other in those times. And if you see, in the Vedic tradition, we often say, if somebody has passed away, don't lament. But there's a difference between lamenting and grieving. So grieving, it is, for example, after the Kurukshetra war gets over, in the Bhagavatam itself describes all the Pandavas, they performed the last rites and they grieved for the loss of their loved ones. So grieving is a natural and necessary part of healing. Lamenting is where we stay stuck in the past. But grieving is what gradually helps us to get some closure. It's like if you have a fracture, the fracture will take some time to heal. And we can't expect the healing to happen overnight. But it's during the healing, somebody may say, keep your hand in a sling or a cast, don't move the hand. But that doesn't mean you never move the hand, isn't it? After some time, you have to start moving the hand. So, grieving is vital. And it is good, it is necessary. But when the grieving just goes on and on forever, that is when it becomes lamenting. Lamenting is where we are stuck in the past, replaying the past. But grieving is the past, what happened has an impact on us. So we want to heal from that impact. So you could say grieving is more like if there is a fracture, we keep the hand in a sling so that we can deal with that we can manage that at that time. Don't worsen the situation. Okay. With another point is with time, going back to the firefighter example, see, what will happen with time is that initially, if there's a young firefighter, new firefighter, and they see a big fire, they're completely overwhelmed. They may go with a fire hose, they'll just drop the fire hose in panic. Now, if somebody is a seasoned firefighter, when they see a huge fire, they will also be shaken. But their training will kick into place and their instincts will come by that. Okay, come on, let's fight this fire from here. You do this, I'll do this. So like that, by the practice of bhakti, we will become seasoned firefighters. But still, even the most seasoned firefighters, when they suddenly see a fire, there will be a bit of being shaken by that. And that's okay. Okay? Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. My question is, yesterday we discussed about Vibhishan and Vidura. So Vibhishan went to fight Ram.
On Ram's side, yeah.
Ramsena. And Vidura went to pilgrimage. So I just wanted to understand what is dharma there. What was dharma there? Because why I am asking this question is, if Vidura went like Vibhishana to fight, to to join Pandava Sena, then you would have end positive karma. Is what my understanding correct, or what was dharma?
That's why I said dharma is guhya. Dharma se tatam nihitam guhaya. It depends on time, place, circumstances. So we have an attitude of serving, and we, based on our situation, may decide how best we can serve. So Vidura had a particular consideration, like I mentioned. His concern was that he also wanted to elevate and liberate Dhritarashtra. And that's why he decided that going on the side that would kill his sons would not be work for him. So what is dharma? It's not a formula. It is, sometimes we say scripture is like a manual. It's okay, but I don't like that particular term. Because manual conveys a very simple idea that you press this button, this will happen. You pull this lever, that will happen. Scripture is more like a guidebook rather than manual. Life is too complicated to have a manual. But in scripture, what we get is principles. And then we have to decide how to apply the principles. And that's why Desha Kala Patra is important. So, two people in two different situations may decide two different things to do. There is a story that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri area, the king of Odisha, Prataparudra, wanted to meet him. And Mahaprabhu said, "No, I'm a sannyasi. I should not be hobnobbing with kings." He refused to meet him, although the king was trying again and again to meet him. But Srila Prabhupada was in America, and we got the opportunity to meet Indira Gandhi. He cut short his American trip and came to India. Now, was Prabhupada not following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? No, it's a different situation. In that case, Mahaprabhu's primary concern was reputation. Sannyasi, you renounce, everybody would like to meet a king. But sannyasi, you have renounced the world. You should not be having these worldly desires of wanting to hobnob with celebrities. So in that particular culture, a sannyasi mixing with a king would have damaged the reputation of a sannyasi. And a sannyasi should be concerned about the reputation not because they have ego, but because their reputation will determine whether people will receive their message or not. If somebody thinks a sannyasi is attached, who will want to hear from the sannyasi? Isn't it? Now, but as Kali Yuga progressed or regressed, whatever word you want to use, at that time sannyasis were respected because society was much more spiritually inclined. In today's world, in post-independent India, sannyasis were often seen as parasites in society. So a sannyasi meeting with the Prime Minister of India would not spoil the reputation of sannyasi, would enhance the reputation of the sannyasi. Isn't it? So dharma has to be very much associated with Desha Kala Patra. So Prabhupada was not rejecting what Mahaprabhu had done, or he was not going against it. He was fulfilling the purpose, even if it meant doing the opposite thing. Okay? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So you said that this material world exists within Krishna. But then in that case, how can we justify whatever calamities or let's say sins are happening against young girls, small kids? How can we justify all that when our material world is within Krishna?
Yeah. That's one of the toughest questions to answer. That is called philosophically the problem of evil. If God is good, why do bad things happen? Why does God let bad things happen? So, there are two ways to understand it. See, one thing is, while the world is within Krishna, Krishna has given everyone free will. And Krishna does not micro-control how everyone uses free will. So, what happens is, each one of us, we have a certain kshetra. Kshetra is our area of influence. So, one person may have a small kshetra, another may have a slightly bigger kshetra. A third person may have a much bigger kshetra. Say, for example, a newborn baby or a small baby gets angry and the baby kicks the mother. The baby's legs are so tender that the mother is not going to get hurt, the baby's leg will get hurt. He said the baby's kshetra is very small. Say, if an ordinary person gets angry, they may use their fists to hit someone. Say, if a police person gets angry, they may shoot someone. If the president of America gets angry, they may nuke a country. Isn't it? So the thing is, each person has their particular kshetra. And now they have got that kshetra by their past positive karma. And within that kshetra, what they do is up to them. So Krishna does not intervene. So now if somebody gets caught in this kshetra, in the kshetra of someone else, then that person may want to do something hurtful, and this person may become victim because of that. So it is Krishna who has given free will, and because of the free will, what happens is people can misuse their free will. And that's how bad things happen. So now there are three things about this. So what is Krishna doing in these things? What is Krishna doing? First of all, Krishna gives wisdom, by which if people use that wisdom, so wisdom is Shastra. By Shastra, what happens is that we can learn how to live. If we have some power, if we have some kshetra, how should we use the kshetra and how should we not use that kshetra, act in that kshetra. So wisdom for us to choose well. Now, Krishna also acts through Shastra and Shastra. So Shastra is largely given by the Brahmanas. Shastra is to be used by Kshatriyas. So weapons. So that's why it is that in the Vedic tradition, the king would often be considered Naradev. But that is not just meant that the king should be worshipped like God. Rather, the king should act as the agent of God and ensure that people don't abuse their powers. That is, some lawbreakers are doing something terrible, they should be punished. So the king or the person in charge should be able to rule with an iron hand so that bad things are not done by people, even if they have power. So this is, here basically, this gives us conscience. Conscience is the intelligence. The conscience is the inner sense, inner compass to do the right thing. The weapons are meant to give us consequence. Consequences where the king acts, the Lord acts through Shastra, through weapons, through the law to punish people. Now, if this doesn't work, the third is Kala. Kala means that nobody has power forever. Everybody will be held accountable for their actions. So, when something bad happens to someone, we should try as much as possible to prevent such things from happening. And as individuals, as collective, we try to do whatever we can. But sometimes the world is such a place that bad things will happen to everyone. We cannot prevent that. So that leaves us with a choice that sometimes people may lose faith in God because of this. And that's possible. But ultimately, atheism, what does it do? Atheism, what does it remove? It does not remove the suffering of life. It only removes the hope that the suffering has some purpose. So in that sense, ultimately, when faced with the terrible pains in life, it is we who have to make a choice. That is there some order beyond this? Now, of course, as I said, we all need to be careful individually. So we all need to be careful individually, we all need to be careful collectively to play our part to prevent such things from happening. I talked in the first session about how Prakriti means might is right. So if somebody has got their kshetra, within its might is right, then that's where it will work. So we have to be careful about these things.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to, how to, maybe I am wanted to understand this, that Krishna tells that he loves to the devotees as much as the devotee loves him. So if we can create a relations with him, like more putra, more sakha, more pranaputi, then my son, my friend, then it is easy to work with him and you will get most satisfaction in the life. And that is the best way to work with him. That's my thinking.
Yes, true. Bhakti has these two aspects to it. There is one is world transcending, and the other is world transforming. So, the Vrindavan devotion is largely world transcending. Like Vrindavan exists in its own abode. The demons come and Krishna just deals with the demons. And the devotees are happy, loving and serving Krishna. And that is the world where we would like to go to. So world transcending is Vrindavan. Now world transforming is Kurukshetra. Now what happens is we would like to be in Vrindavan, but the world we live in is sometimes Kurukshetra also. And what happens is, if you consider our life, you can even consider the Krishna consciousness movement. Even to serve Krishna in this world, to serve Krishna in this world, we have to have, sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement is like Vrindavan, sometimes the Krishna consciousness movement can also be like Kurukshetra. See, we would like to serve Krishna happily with a Vaikuntha atmosphere. But sometimes, even among devotees, there are differences. Sometimes among devotees, there are conflicts. And they're just a part of life. So we have to deal with it. So now we would like it to be 100% Vrindavan, but that's not going to happen in this world. At the same time, we don't want it to be 100% Kurukshetra also. So Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. So Mam Anusmara is the Vrindavan mood. Yuddhacha is the Kurukshetra mood. So we see that Srila Prabhupada embodied both. Now, when Srila Prabhupada, he came to, as I said, when the Juhu land issue came up, he was ready to fight for Krishna. But then we have examples of Prabhupada dancing in kirtans. Prabhupada, when London Rath Yatra was there, he was extremely weak. But he saw the Rath cart, he saw thousands of people, and just hundreds and hundreds of people, he just got energy and he danced all the way along. So there's Vrindavan mood also, there's Kurukshetra mood also. So it's not that the Kurukshetra mood is antithetical or opposed to devotion. It is both are required. Mahatmanas Tumam Partha, that 9.13 is describing the Vrindavan mood. That the devotee is completely absorbed in Krishna. Daivim prakritimashita bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadi maulev. But the next verse says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drudavrataha. Now, if the heart is completely attracted to Krishna, the heart is absorbed in Krishna, then why does one have to endeavor so much? Drudavrataha, why is that required? See, for us we can say that our mind wanders here and there, so we have to be determined. But for those who are already absorbed in Krishna, why do they need determination? Because doing anything in the world is not easy. Even when somebody wants to do something for Krishna, it's difficult. So 9.14, that drudavrataha, that ready to fight, that is the Kurukshetra mood. So as devotees, certainly we need to have that inner sense of Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my, that the way the rasas that we talk about. The Vrindavan devotion is very heart-touching. We can all come here and hear nice Krishna stories, and it's wonderful. But then after that, we have to go back and face the real world. So is it that our Krishna Bhakti is disconnected from our real world? Or can our Krishna Bhakti help us to face the real world also? So Vrindavan Leela is about transcending the world and becoming absorbed in Krishna. Kurukshetra Leela, Mahabharata Leela is more about facing the world in a mood of service to Krishna. And we need to do both. So in many ways you could say, our sadhana is when we turn away from the world to be absorbed in Krishna. That is the time we don't have to be looking at our phone and, oh, this person has done that person done that. But then our seva, often we have to be in the Kurukshetra mood. That this is not working, I need to do this, how can I take care of this, how can I take care of that? So as devotees, we need both. So thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, okay, one last question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It's a general question for me. Because I think we have free belief. Christianity, Hinduism, and
Islam, yeah.
So three belief. So those are the belief in Atma, in past life. Just I want clarification. There you go.
So do they believe in, are you asking that? Do they believe in, or what is your question exactly?
Prabhu is asking that how each of them deal with the subject matter of soul and past life and all the three primary beliefs.
We'll have to have a separate series of classes for that. But I'll just mention it briefly. See, the different religions, they are ultimately like different paths up the mountain. So the top of the mountain is love of God, is spiritual consciousness. The bottom of the mountain is material consciousness. So all the various religions are meant to help us go up the mountain. So in that sense, they have a common purpose. At the same time, it's not that each path up the mountain is the same. One path might be rocky, another path might be marshy, another path might be sandy or whatever. Each path will have its challenges. So in the Vedic path, one thing that we have is a significant level of jnana. Jnana in terms of both the self, Atma, and jnana in terms of Bhagavan. So in the other religions, and specifically the two you mentioned, Islam and Christianity, these are Abrahamic religions. Now, these are also paths by which many people have ascended towards developing very exalted levels of love of God. At the same time, in the Abrahamic religions in general, there is not a very clear understanding of the Atma. The concept of soul is talked about, but often the soul is almost seen like a metaphorical reference to our essence. So Thomas Aquinas, a famous Christian theologian, he said that the soul and the body can never be separated. And they talk about the soul, but the soul and body are always together. And that's why they don't have the idea of reincarnation. They have the idea of resurrection. Reincarnation means the soul comes in different bodies. But Christianity has the idea of resurrection. Resurrection means just like Jesus is said to have risen in the same body after he was crucified. So similarly, all of us will rise in the same body and after Judgment Day when we go to heaven or whatever. Or when we go to heaven. So the thing is that because the concept of the soul and body, that clear difference is not there. So Christianity accepts the afterlife, both Christianity and Islam. They accept afterlife, but they don't accept a pre-life. So there is a life after death, but there is no life before birth. And so that is one major difference. So conceptually, that's why it becomes very difficult in the Abrahamic tradition to explain why do bad things happen to good people, especially Why are terrible things happen to babies? Why are babies born with congenital difficulties? If this is their first life, they haven't done anything, so why would they suffer like that? And the second is that as far as God, there is a lot of talk about devotion to God, but there is not much clear description of God as a person. So the concept of God is described, the concept of love of God is also described, but the understanding of God as a person, as a specific person, the way in our tradition that's understood to be Krishna, the specific description of God is not given. So to some extent that can make it difficult for people to develop that personal relationship with God. And that's why in Christianity, in many ways, they have almost made Jesus to be like God. So quite often their prayers, as many are there to God, there are prayers to Jesus. So Jesus said that I am not the Father, I have been sent by the Father. But then the church has this idea of Trinity where the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit, all three are in some way the one. But overall, to answer that question, in terms of the clarity of the understanding of the soul as different from the body, and clarity in terms of understanding the specific attributes of the personality of Godhead, those two are more given in the Vedic tradition, specifically the Bhakti tradition. Okay? Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Itai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Thank you. So this has been a wonderful 3 days seminar series. I think we have all taken back so many learnings. And I think the clarity which Prabhu explains the concepts, even the one which he explained on the last one, I was just reflecting on one of the things which Prabhu said when somebody asked that whether, the Prabhu asked this question about if God, if everything within the God, how can there be calamity? And Prabhu answered that how can atheism, which is believing that everything is not God, can help you? He said, it doesn't help you with your sufferings, but more importantly, it doesn't even help you of a hope that that you can have a solution. So I think Prabhu has brought a lot of clarity of the three types of sufferings, the 3 types of problems, but more importantly, he has made us more grounded and more informed, if I can say, and more clear in our thoughts. So I don't think we can thank any more to the Prabhu except just expressing our gratitude and loudly chanting Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. If you like to, I think Prabhu will be here for a few more minutes. He's also here on Saturday and Sunday. There are 2 programs. So Saturday